my goodness, there's a whole bunch of people and here we are just.
Hi, good afternoon. Okay, nice to see everyone here. So let me give a brief introduction for Ayya Marajina Theri Bhikkhuni here for those new friends here. So Ayya Marajina Theri Bhikkhuni have received the higher ordination at Aranyabodhi Hermitage in California in 2012 with Venerable Ayya Tathaluka Mahatheri as a Pawatini Upajjhaya. That means a female preceptor. And a dual ordination presided by the Venerable Sila Vimala Mahathero as a Kamavachacharya from the American Buddhist Seminary in Sacramento. Since Ayya Marajina ordination, so she has spent the past 12 years for studying the mind through the Tipitaka and also for the bhavana, cultivation of the mind. So for meditation practice, Ayya focuses on the Brahmavihara and Satipatthana. And for Dhamma sharing, Ayya teach in both Spanish and English language. And now Ayya mostly divides her time between Cuba, Florida, and teaching online with a global Spanish-speaking Dhamma community through her Dhammasala, Nirodha Nilaya. So please join me to warmly welcome Ayya Marajina for this afternoon Sutta study session. And we are going to discuss about the Sallekasutta. Ayya, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone.
Audio. Blessings of the Triple Gem. Sukhihotu. Let's settle down for a few minutes, say 10 minutes. We had no technical issues this morning because we've been working on them for 20 minutes before. 10 minutes to just settle the mind. Sit down comfortably, quietly, and just focus on your breathing. Just focus on bringing up some joy and investigative energy for the next hour and a half. But just do that for 10 minutes. well, happy, and peaceful. May we be well, happy, and peaceful. No one, you need somebody to speak. I'm not muted. My sound is on. Can everyone hear me?
You're good, Ayya.
Yes. So we're connecting the PA system. I thought we had all our technical. But anyway, today we're going to be discussing the Sallekasutta. So let's pay homage to our teacher. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Batang dhammang sanghang namasami. The Sallekasutta is the Buddha responding to Mahachunda, who by some accounts is the younger brother of Sariputta. And there's some debate about the question. Bhikkhu Bodhi poses the question that Mahachunda asks as over concern about his disciples who overestimate their meditative attainments. And we can all relate to that, can't we? First time we have some amazing progress in our meditation. It's like, oh, and there's like a lot of people online that are Sotapanna, Sakatagamis, Anagamis, and Arahants. There's like forums filled with people who believe they've attained what they really haven't attained. So, but with experience, what the sutta says is, with experience that you measure yourself. You don't measure yourself by other people's yardsticks. So by Bhikkhu Bodhi's account, Mahachunda is asking, do disciples from the very beginning have these attainments? Or sadhu? Or what is, by Bhante Sujato's account, Mahachunda is asking, how can a disciple discern their attainment? So either one of those questions will lead to the same sort of answer. And so in the beginning here, let's share the screen. Sound. Ananea, can you hear now?
Yeah, that was just at the beginning before the sound had started. It's fine. Can you hear me? Ayya, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Anna.
I hear you, Anna.
I think.
Cannot hear?
I'm fine. That was just at the beginning.
I'm not muted. You can hear Chintana?
We can all
Okay.
hear. I think we're good.
We hear you and we hear her.
It's okay.
Okay, everybody can hear. So the sutta is very long and it's very worthwhile if you haven't read it and we can't get to the entire sutta. It's very worthwhile to read on your own because here are a lot of questions about our practice can be answered. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. Then in the late afternoon, Venerable Mahachunda came out of retreat and went to the Buddha. He bowed, sat down to one side, and said to the Buddha, "Sir, there are many different views that arise in the world, connected with theories of self or with theories of the cosmos. How does a mendicant who is focusing on the starting point give up and let go of these views?" So you can see the difference is between Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation and Bhante Sujato's translation is that in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, Mahachunda was concerned that his disciples were overestimating their attainments.
Can't see this very well.
Chunda, there are many different views that arise in the world connected with theories of self or with theories of the cosmos. A mendicant gives up and lets go of these views by truly seeing with right wisdom where they arise, where they settle in, and where they operate as this is not mine, I am not this is not myself. It's possible that a certain mendicant, quite secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unskillful qualities, might enter and remain in the first absorption, which has, I don't use the word rapture. I think that's too strong. And that's, there's like a rapture at the end of time in the Christian belief system, which we can get confused with. So delight is a really good word, really good translation for that, which has the delight and bliss born of seclusion while placing the mind and keeping it connected. They might think they're practicing self-effacement. So self-effacement is the eradication of view. It's the cutting of the fetters of view. But in the training of the noble ones, these are not called self-effacement. They're called blissful meditations in this life. So the jhanas are ceto vimutti. And depending on the depth, the intensity of the absorption, because there's, different levels of jhanas. There's very, very quick jhanas. Unifications of mind with the object. And there's jhanas that can last for hours.
Or days.
So the ones that last for hours, they lead to liberation of the heart for months. And so while one is in the liberation of the heart, they might think they're, have all sorts of attainments because the defilements are not arising in them. But the thing with ceto vimutti, with the jhanas, is that if they're not practiced continually, they cease. They're gone. Whoops, out of there. And everything comes back to the same way it was, except for one has had that experience, so one knows what ceto vimutti is, one knows what a jhana is. A person that is residing at a monastery or a meditation center and is practicing the jhanas has a peaceful benefit for the entire monastery. So these are like jewels in the sangha. The benefit that they provide through their practice is very, very precious. It's not just for themselves, but these don't lead to the cessation of views. These don't lead, I believe what is being asked here is, are they really Sotapanna's Blessed One, or are they just overestimating? So the Buddha's saying, and this goes through every jhana, I think even into the formless jhanas, the Buddha keeps saying they're called peaceful meditations. Not that they don't have any effect, but they don't cut the fetter of views, of doubt, and of the belief in rites and rituals, which is just basically ritualizing the precepts. Like if we practice this, if we keep the precepts, this is enough. And that's not enough. That's the base of a practice. But what the sutta is saying, that meditation is good, it's needed, it has its benefit, but there's more. And it's the next section that can really be of practical use to us when we're among those in the world, when we're out in the world, because we'll see. And this is very realistic for our time. I know somebody who's very virtuous, but has many friends who are not. And not too long ago, all of our friends were going to a concert and they were invited backstage by the band, which is a big deal for her friends. But she knew that they were going to be doing drugs. And this is in a state that marijuana is legal, but those weren't the drugs that they were going to be using. So she said no. And that takes a lot of courage for a young person to separate on the basis of something like that is so culturally allowed. So this is what this part of the Sallekasutta is telling you. Others will be cruel, but we will not be cruel. Others will kill living creatures, but here we will not kill living creatures. Others will steal, but we will not steal. You see this, and you can fill in the blank. Like everybody's doing it, right? I mean, the line, everybody does it. So we can do it too. And we see, this is part of humanity, is this follow the trend. And it's based on wrong views of self and wrong views of the world. And it's such a trend. These can be such culturally accepted trends, like, killing living creatures. Who has not passed by a sign that says live bait? Huh? These are live creatures. These are what we would call minnows. They're called worms. They're called fish. They are living creatures, but we have categorized the word bait. And so that sort of glosses, that does away with their sentience and makes it okay to kill. Or who hasn't gone into a hardware store at the section on poisons? It's amazing, all of the poisons that we can, and there's even labels now. Do not use for coyotes, like a mouse killer. They have to label it, do not use for coyotes, because people will use it for whatever they need. So what's culturally accepted, even what is legal, because a little while ago I mentioned something that would be illegal, but even legalities are culturally accepted. And it's difficult to separate ourselves from what appears to be just normal behavior. Others will lie, but here we will not lie. Others will speak divisively. Here, this is the free speech of the times. Others will speak divisively, but we will not speak divisively. Others will talk nonsense, but here we will not talk nonsense. Others will be covetous, but here we will not be covetous. Others will have ill will, wrong view, wrong thought, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness, wrong samadhi, wrong knowledge. Others will have wrong freedom, but we will not. So you just fill in the blank, and depending on your practice, these will either be easy for you or they'll be very, very difficult for you. Just, just a different level. But these are the right responses to wrong views. Others will be restless, but here we will not be restless. Others will have doubts, but here we will have gone beyond doubt. Others will be irritable, but here we will be without anger. Others will be acrimonious, but here we will be without acrimony. Others will be offensive. This is so prevalent that even our leaders feel very free to offend even their constituents. And someone that doesn't have the strength of character will follow right along. Actually, it's one of our human frailties, is like we're like herd animals. Like we've had many lifetimes as goats or deer or chickens or something, and we just follow along, almost following along because others are doing it. So it takes a certain amount of, I think someone calls moral individuality, moral independence. And we have to be also careful because sometimes we're raised like this. In the Great Depression of the United States, there was a lot of stinginess, and that was survival. So that can kind of be understood. You know, if you have, and some of the poverty-stricken families that only have cornflakes for breakfast or lunch or dinner, you know, they don't have that merit of being able to be generous. You know, that's actually the poverty there, is that they don't have the means for generosity. But in their case, the stinginess can be understood. The Buddha said we need to take care of ourselves. If we only have a box of cornflakes to feed our children, you know, for the next 2 days, then, you know, we need to take care of that, right? We can't be foolish with our means. Generosity is if you can. And sometimes things like miserliness and stinginess arise just because of past actions, so that we don't have the means to be generous. In those cases, you know, if this is what's happening, then we can be generous with our time. We can be generous by listening. We can be generous by picking up litter on the side of the road. But, you know, for now, we may not be able to be generous with our food or with our money. And then this one here that I want to also speak to is others will be hard to admonish, but here we will not be hard to admonish. So the ego is a big thing, and sometimes it's hard to properly correct someone for fear that that person will be so offended that they will leave the monastery or leave the Dhamma, because they cannot be corrected. And this is something that you have to watch out for yourself. You know what that correction means. You know, if you are corrected, you know that you have to look at yourself in the mirror and see, you know, that fault and overcome that fault. And this is really the purpose of this sutta, is to show you what those faults are, where the faults are, and how to overcome them. But being hard to admonish is one of the failings of a bhikkhuni or a bhikkhu. And it's a big failing, even as a student of the Dhamma. Others will have bad friends. Here we will have good friends. Others will be negligent. Here we will be diligent. Others will be faithless. Others will be conscienceless. Others will be imprudent. Others will be unlearned. Others will be lazy. Others will be unmindful. Others will be witless. Others will be attached to their own views, holding them tight, refusing to let go. But here, we will not be attached to our own views, holding them tight, but we'll let them go easily. That's the crux of the sutta, isn't it? It's about, have they really let go of those views? Blessed One, which is the question Mahachanda asked. Do those views, are those views really, really cut permanently with the jhanas? No, the Buddha is saying that in social circles, in social situations, we have to be our own moral compass. This is what helps cut those fetters. Jhanas help too, but they don't cut them. So instead of what the jhana practice is, we're given a life practice, a living practice, and a practice to be experienced day to day. So the next section is giving rise to the thought. Chitu papa da pariyaya. Chunda. I say that even giving rise to the thought of skillful qualities is very helpful, let alone that path in the body and speech. That's why you should give rise to the following thoughts. Others will be cruel, but here we will not be cruel. So it's not even the perfection that the Buddha is talking about. He's not talking about arahants or anagamis. He's talking about cutting the fetters of view, which is at sotapanna. So even the thought, when the thought arises, oh my gosh, they're being really mean and speaking harsh words to that, to those people, even if they deserve it, I won't speak harshly. So even that thought, and 5 minutes later you go and you say something that you shouldn't say and you regret, right? But that's the beginning, is the arising of that thought, not the perfection. We don't begin at the end. So just giving rise to the thought. And also, this has some desire in it, right? This is wholesome desire. Others will be attached to their own views, holding them tightly and refusing to let them go. But we won't be attached to our own views, holding them tightly, and will easily let them go. Now, this isn't easy. It's not, we will easily let them go, is just, it's a nice sentence, but it requires a lot of practice. Because for one, we don't even know what our views are. We don't know the views yet. We're on the way to seeing what those views are and how they affect us. So just that desire, giving rise to that thought, I'm not going to hold on to my views. When I understand what those views are, I'm going to let them go. Bypassing parikamana pariyaya. Chunda, suppose there was a rough path and another smooth path to get around it. Or suppose there was a rough ford and another smooth ford to go around it. In the same way, a cruel individual bypasses it by not being cruel. An individual who kills bypasses it by not even killing. So we're at the very, very starting point when the Buddha is signaling that someone who kills has that option to not kill. Someone who steals has the option not to steal. And so this is stepping out of a view. It's understanding that, that we're not so imprisoned in our habit energies. It's understanding that these are our habit energies, that this is not a fixed aspect, that we can choose, however difficult it may be. The preceding one was just giving rise to that, just giving rise to the thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And then this part is one step more. So I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to kill another sentient being anymore. So the next part is don't. You've been killing, you've been down that way. Now stop. You've been stealing, you've been down that way. Stop. So, and it begins with the desire, understanding that, you know, you can take the precepts till you're blue in the face, but if you don't follow them, then it's worthless. Our practice is worthless to us. It's just that we don't understand, you know, very well that this rough road doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to follow that road. We have the choice. If we set the intention, we can find a different path. An individual who is attached to their own views, holding them tightly and refusing to let go, gets around it by not being attached to their views. So let's take something that we find quite commonly in our culture. I knew a farmer in Tennessee when I was a layperson who was a born-again Christian, and his father was not. His father lent him the money to buy his first farm, lent him the money to buy his first herd of cattle, provided everything, and these were very poor southern rural families. Was a good father, not a drinker, not a gambler, not cheating on his wife, advised his son on good things, but just didn't go to church. And so his son, my neighbor, became a born-again Christian, and he convinced himself that his father was not going to go to heaven. And he convinced himself that that was okay to think that his father, who had helped him so much, who was really responsible for everything that he had to begin with, was going to hell. Because in the Christian belief system, when you die, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. That is a wrong view. And it's held so tenaciously that we would even surrender our father to hell to keep that idea, to keep that belief. And this will signal to you what people will kill and die for. These wrong views of the chosen ones, of the ones that deserve the water rights. Silly little things. We will kill other human beings just like us for these ridiculous belief systems. So we really should kind of tread carefully, because, I mean, if we cut somebody off on the road, we might die. It might be the wrong view that day that kills us. Somebody thinks that they can carry a weapon and defend themselves from people passing them rudely on the road. These are wrong views, and they infiltrate the entire culture. It's not just this list of 44 or however many there were. There's so many variations of each of these, very dangerous ones also. All of our wars going on in the world right now are based on wrong views. all of the suffering going on right now based on wrong views. Going up, upadi bhaga pariyaya, chunda. All unskillful qualities lead downwards, while all skillful qualities lead upwards. In the same way, a cruel individual is led upwards by not being cruel. An individual who kills is led upward by not killing. An individual who is attached to their views, holding them tightly, refusing to let go, is led upward by not being attached to their own views, not holding them tightly, but letting them go easily. And that's it. There's nothing more to that. The desire to walk the good way, walk the good path, the desire to change. And, you know, the thing is that here we are listening to a Dhamma discussion. I think most of you are listening. And so we already have this desire. We already have this inclination. But we're like 1%. We're the 1% of the Dhamma practitioners. So we step outside of our door into the street, and the other 99% are within those views. And until you reach a certain level, I think, of at least a faith or a wisdom follower, you can regress. Even if you're here today listening, wanting to reach the cessation of suffering, desiring that with all your hearts, until you get to a certain point, you regress. And that's why there's, you know, no discernible beginning, because we've been in this round and round and round. It's a fallacy to think that humanity is all evolving to a higher consciousness. I think that's a false view. That's a wrong view. Humanity is going around like the blind leading the blind. We have this huge line of people who are blind, that can't see. And each one is holding the hand of the one behind them. And then the last one holds the hand of the first one. And they're told they're going on a vacation. They're going on a journey. And so they start walking. And they walk for a couple hours. They, you know, it's lunchtime. They sit down, they have lunch, they use the potty, you know, they said, okay, time to go, let's go. We're going to Nova Scotia. Get up, start walking around and around and around. Night falls, they settle down, they build a fire, maybe they have a little alcohol, play a little music, and have dinner, then rest, you know, dream the night away, morning comes up again. This is not just the funny story about blind people being fooled. This is us. This is our birth to death, to birth, to death, to birth, to death. We're just blindly going around in circles. Yeah, technology has, you know, improved some things. Vaccinations, you know, used to improve some things. But we can tell. We get to a certain point and we digress. And if you listen to the suttas, if you read these suttas, you will hear that there have been many civilizations on this planet, many kalpas on this planet. We kind of hear about Atlantis and Lemuria, and it's kind of like, well, are they myth or are they reality, or, you know, and, you know, what happened to the dinosaurs? So in my view, this is a view. It could be wrong. I've never read it anywhere, but I think that we've destroyed our civilizations countless times already. And we're just going around and around and around. And now we've reached a point where we have laser technology. We've got a rover on the moon. I think we got a rover on the moon. You know, we've got these satellites and we have 5G internet, and we think, you know, we're progressing. We don't know that we've probably been at this point. Who knows how many times? We've done it all already. Civilization has done it all already. And we're still trying to find the way out of this. So even the desire to want to release our wrong views and our wrong way of thinking and our mistakes and breaking the precepts, this is not enough. We do have to actually put these into practice. Once we put these into practice, then we'll be trying to find trying to maybe let go of the person in front of us, let go of that hand that's leading us, and find our own way and use our own measuring stick to measure our progress. The exposition by extinguishment, parinibbana pariyaya. If you're sinking in the mud yourself, Chinda, it's quite impossible for you to pull out someone else who is sinking in the mud. I think just this morning I talked about this, my son's little friends who got stuck in the mud, and the older brother always taking care of his younger brother. He too was stuck in the mud. They could not get out. You know, the police finally found them in the middle of the night. If you're stuck, you can't help. If you're not tamed, trained, and quenched yourself, it's quite impossible for you to help tame, train, and extinguish someone else. But if you're tamed, trained, and quenched yourself, it's quite possible for you to help tame, train, and extinguish someone else. In the same way, a cruel individual extinguishes it by not being cruel. An individual who kills extinguishes it by not killing. So this is the abstain part. An individual who is attached to their own views, holding them tightly, refusing to let them go, extinguishes it by not being attached to their wrong views, by not holding them tightly, but by letting them go. So, Chunda, I've taught the expositions by way of self-effacement, arising of thought, bypassing, going up and extinguishing. Out of sympathy, I've done what a teacher should do who wants what's best for their disciples. Here are these roots of trees. Here are these empty huts. Practice absorption, Chunda. Don't be negligent. Don't regret it later. This is my instruction. This is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, Venerable Mahachunda approved what the Buddha said. So this may apparently sound like a contradiction, isn't it? I mean, we started with those absorptions, they're not effacement in the Blessed One's teaching. They're just a blissful, peaceful abiding here and now. And now the Buddha's saying, there's these roots of trees, these empty huts, practice jhanas. What gives here? What is this? Anybody have a reply to this quandary? You don't have to raise your hand because I can't see everybody. You can just unmute your audio and
Hi, this is Damon. Yeah, may I?
what's going on with this?
Yeah, can I speak?
Can you hear Damon, Ayya?
No, I couldn't hear her. Did Ayya give me the go-ahead to share?
Is somebody speaking? Damon, are you speaking? I can't.
Yeah. Can you hear?
I don't think she can hear you.
I think she said, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little confused about the quandary. Yes, I don't have the exact answer to that, but someone else is speaking as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, Damon.
Yeah, thanks.
Um,
Yeah, thank you.
We didn't catch any of that.
Okay, can I start again?
Technology.
Okay, all right. All I was going to say was that your point is well taken about how we're traveling in circles, but I would suggest that possibly, we could be traveling in a circular spiral that is slowly going up. I think there's something to be said for spiritual evolution over the kalpas. Look at Buddhism. It was like not in the West, 60 years ago, and now it's proliferated in the West. So I feel there's some progress there. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. I apologize for that technical glitch. And this is the appearance. This is the appearance, and it's not a true appearance, because the Buddha was born in northern India. The original Sanghas, Arhants, thousands of them, were in India. Not long after, say 500 years later, there had already been, who knows, a couple of dozen schisms. And about 50 years ago, Buddhism was gone from India. So in that same way, what we're seeing, like with all of our advancements, it's individually, until we reach that level of non-return, I can't call it non-return because that's a different level of no going back. Individually, we can slip. And we don't have to look that far or even imagine to see, people that are very wealthy, that are in positions of authority, that have a very nice life. They didn't get there by accident. They are heirs of their karma. So they've created the conditions for that wealth, and then now they're blowing it. And they'll slide back. And we have to open our eyes to see and not believe that, this trajectory of the spread of the Dhamma in the West is going to be in a linear fashion and get us all awakened just with the trajectory, just with that movement of the spiral. Because at any given moment, it can all be lost. And my teacher used to say a story about one of his students that was very interested in the Buddhist teaching and spent a lot of time in a monastery and even ordained as a bhikkhu at one point. And then he disrobed and he went back to the United States and he opened a restaurant. He was very successful. He would send his cooks and his employees to the monastery to meditate for a month or two at a time, and everything was progressing well. And then suddenly he decided to become a Dhamma teacher and kind of plagiarize the teacher's instructions and claim them for himself in a book. And he started to backslide. So he hadn't reached what I call the level of not going back, which would be faith follower or wisdom follower. And yet he was doing all these good deeds, doing all this good practice, even ordaining. And he reached the point where he just greed stole his teacher's own teachings, attributed them to himself, charged for the Dhamma, and then from what I hear, he contracted AIDS and died shortly afterwards in a very poor situation. So what I'm trying to say is that we should not be lulled into thinking, we're on the right path. Until we as individuals attain to that, we're not. It can all just blow up in our face. So, anybody with some guidance on that quandary? Why would the Buddha say, practice absorption, practice samadhi, practice samatha, if, he just said at the beginning, this is not effacement. This is just a very nice state of being for the moment, momentary.
Richard.
Who?
Richard.
Oh, hello, Richard.
Hello, Ayya, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had to switch computers. There's something wrong with my main computer, and that's why I was late. I'm sorry I was late, but I couldn't open Zoom on my computer, so I was like struggling with it. And finally, I went to another computer, but I didn't have the login information, so I had to go and find that information. It's like, anyway, there was a number of things I wanted to discuss about this sutta. One is the word saleka can also mean severe austerity or severe penance, something like that. So Buddha always says, and he reiterates here in the sutta that the jhanas are blissful abidings, and that he searches for. He was criticized once for trying to shut down the happiness of beings, and he says, "No, I look for happiness wherever it can be found." And he says, first jhana has a certain amount of bliss and happiness. Second has more. Cessation has the very high amount, and nibbana is the highest, bliss and happiness. So if the jhanas are being approached and done correctly, the way the Buddha explains in the suttas, then one actually enters in through gladness, and they're not painful or difficult or anything like that. That's why Buddha is saying it's not an austerity, it's not an effacement, it's not a wearing away. It's an actual increase. You're increasing the mind's ability to focus and to penetrate and understand reality. So I think that's the correct way to look at the sutta. And also at the end, it's said that Buddha reiterates the importance of jhana, but the word there actually, I had these things all worked out, but the word there is not, it doesn't mean jhana. It means more, he tells the person he's speaking to, he says, there are these roots of trees, these empty huts, right? Because they're probably sitting there near a monastery. He himself appears to be sitting under a tree. So he's saying, here's some trees, or go into your hut. The monks by that time would have had their huts, right? Go into that hut over there, right? And contemplate what I've just been speaking about. That's what he's talking about. He's not saying go and do jhana right away. He's saying go and contemplate this teaching, so that you can penetrate it, so you can understand it and make use of it. And another thing to notice is that when he gives his example of there's a really hard path to traverse, and then there's a really nice smooth path to traverse, right? That it's really not so difficult if you approach it in the right way. So in this particular thing, he's talking about chitta, you'll see in there, which means states of mind. So it's not so much just having a thought, I want to hurt somebody, or I want to be cruel to somebody, or something like that. It's the state of mind that you have that produces that type of thought, that you have to get to the point where you don't want to even enter into that state of mind because it's that rocky road. It's so painful, whereas maintaining a loving, kind, peaceful mind is a smooth path, So you want to go on that smooth path instead. So it's just it's benefits all around. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Richard. That part about the thought is that once again, we don't begin at the end. We begin at the beginning, where it's not even apparent that this is the rocky road that we're on and that there is a smoother way to travel. It takes time and it takes practice. So just the thought that arises is wholesome. What's left is to discern for oneself that that's the path, and then to walk it, to actually align your actions with those thoughts, actions of physical actions, mental actions, and verbal actions. I don't know who was next, Corinna or Corinna?
I can go. Hello,
Okay.
hello,
Hello.
everyone. I'm sorry I missed the beginning also. I'll take a shot at my understanding of it, and given that I missed the beginning.
Okay.
It's, how do I say this? It's the right approach to the absorption is really important. And it seems that if you don't have the right approach at the beginning, then you can take Dhamma things or like the absorptions and sort of mold them into a wrong view that you're holding. And so things can happen like greed for the absorptions, or, increase of self when you reach certain absorptions, or just even more, but a little bit less even, what's the word? I don't know the word. Just getting stuck in them and just saying, okay, this is all I need. This is all I want to do now. This is great. I just want to stay in these absorptions. Whereas I think, and this is just coming from my own personal experience, when once a certain understanding of the Dhamma develops, then it's really important to practice the absorptions, but not as a end, or more like a means to an end. But at the same time, I feel they're not to be skipped. They're extremely important to be able to see more deeply and develop wisdom. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinna. I just want to say along those same lines, the jhanas were pre-Buddhist. The jhanas existed in India prior to the Buddha. Actually, if you remember his first two teachers, Alara Kalama and Udaka Brahmaputta, were teaching the seventh and the eighth immaterial jhanas respectively. So they thought that was liberation. They thought that was effacement. I think Daniel is next.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the context you gave this talk. I don't think I would have noticed in the sutta kind of what they were discussing about views and sotapanna. And to maybe take a stab at your question, at least I want to summarize what Ayya Sobana said once, and I hope I kind of quoted correctly. But she talked about how kind of conventional wisdom or wrong view, because it's so pervasive and it's what we've been following for so long and something we're so used to, that stepping away from it can be quite frightening. Our society says kill or be killed, steal or be stolen from. And it can be scary to challenge that and say, no, I'm not going to respond with violence, or I'm not going to respond with theft. And she pointed to the jhanas as being an important way of developing insight into different states to help break up this, to create courage and the ability to step away from wrong view and to embrace right view. And that the jhanas were really important to developing that courage and that insight to see, oh, that right view is correct. I can step away from this conventional wisdom and live differently, and that the jhanas played a really important role in that. So that seemed to speak to me deeply. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Daniel. Maitri, hello.
Thank you, Ayya. Thanks for going over this sutta. It was very nice to go through it. The to answer your question, I believe at the end, Buddha brings up this idea of going to an empty hut, finding a foot of a tree, and go meditate. That's what he says. And so he's instructing to practice meditation and develop samadhi or jhanas. And I think the context here is that and I think this is somewhat along the lines of what Daniel was just saying, that samadhi is a necessary factor for wisdom, and that wisdom doesn't arise, they cannot be separated, that you need to have that without samadhi, you can't have wisdom on its own, and to get to that insight that samadhi is a very important factor, and that's something that needs to be developed and cultivated, and it doesn't happen like when you want it. You need to just keep at it, work on it, and this is kind of the thoughts that I had. Thank you. Ayya.
Thank you for sharing, Maitri. Yes, I think that there was something understandable in all of this sharing, is that just to take the jhanas, and as if we're involved in different communities, we see some of members of those communities just wanting to practice the jhanas, and then they're just very, very focused on the jhanas, and debating on the internet about the jhanas, writing articles and reading articles about the jhanas, and listening to podcasts about the jhanas. And so you miss the whole purpose, because we cultivate the precepts, we cultivate refuge, we bring these into our life, and then these are necessary, because for the jhanas, we have to have some understanding of what those 5 hindrances are. And living in this way, in the way that is conducive to tranquility, conducive as working with right effort, because, well, all of the sutta is about right effort, isn't it? I mean, there's a rocky road and there's a smooth road. And just to discern which road to take, unfortunately, for most of the people alive today, is a huge, maybe even torturous decision, because there's going to be benefits on both sides. Because we don't have the right view yet. So right effort is really, really necessary, which we cultivate in our own life, and the desire to cultivate these and to understand these. And then after that, because this is from beginning to end, there is all of these challenges that are brought up in our culture. And without any of that understanding, then the jhanas can seem an end in and of themselves, because they're very peaceful. They're peaceful abidings, and they do seem to cut through the fetters while one is experiencing the blissful fruit of the absorption, which, as I said, can last for months, while one is thinking, I'm a sotapanna, I'm an anagami. No ill will arises in me anymore. And then it's gone, poof. It was temporary, anicca, it was gone. And then what? So it's not that we do not practice samadhi. That's part of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's that we practice it with a view toward incorporating this, a view toward how we live, what we're encouraging, what we're not encouraging, and the courage to choose that smooth road, even though it's, rush hour, it's I-95, there's no way around it, right? The only way through, or what is it? The only way out is in. So even those in the right smooth road may not seem so attractive at first. And if it doesn't seem so attractive at first, like, not killing the cockroaches in your house doesn't seem like it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. And yet it is. And we're told the arhants, what the arhant considers happiness, the layperson, the worldling considers dukkha. And what the worldly person considers happiness, the arhant knows is dukkha. So just getting to that point of right view is a practice. And with that, then we practice the jhanas. Then we practice vipassana, samadhi. So unbelievable, but we have 15 minutes left.
Bettina, I have a question.
Oh, okay. Sutina. Yes, come. That's because our microphone.
Be on the Lex camera.
Oh, let's put you on the camera anyway. There we go. Where you are. There you are.
Tina, I was reflecting generally on this sutta. I think to me, the sutta speaks to a kind of fearlessness. And we talked about, having to separate yourself from the herd and like how like scary and heart pounding that can be. Or when, you feel like you don't have a lot materially or otherwise. It takes, for me, it feels like a kind of trust to know, like, even when you don't have a lot and you feel, you feel afraid, like, what if I really need this? Like, I can't give this away. But then through cultivating trust or kind of just trying different methods out, like, okay, maybe this time I give it, maybe next time I don't give, and just comparing and contrasting the after effects of that. Maybe that can kind of helps me kind of figure out, okay, is this rocky road really rocky, or is it a rocky road that's actually smooth, or is this smooth road actually rocky? Kind of investigate in that manner. So and then with this sutta really talking, I feel like, about identity and just speaking to how we really like hold on to that, like how like the strength of that. I think we're talking about the strength of that clinging to the identity, and I do feel like that again kind of ties a bit to a sense of fear of like, who will I be if I don't have this? And that's it's a deep question to work with. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Sutina. It was a very good observation. That fear that comes up, fear of the unknown and uncertainty, that I know I've been there, the indecisiveness, because all the options look okay. They may even look equal. And so it does take some courage and some fearlessness to work with those and make mistakes. Hey, make mistakes. It's okay. We get up, we do it again. Niyada? You have to unmute yourself, Niyada.
Thank you so much, Aja. Yes, I've been hurt. A lot of people been scared what footstep you would take. I mean, if you practice drama and you understand from the first of 8 foot, 8 foot, you know the first one is right wheel. When you got to the right wheel, and then you move on, walk in that right wheel, and it will develop knowledgeable because we born with ignorance. We don't know. That's why we be born. Now, when you set up your mind into the right will, and then you have improvement. And jhana, one of the result of your practice, and you have improvement. So you know more with jhana. That's why jhana have level. When you know more from one jhana, and you know more and more to be 4-5 level. More about what? More about samsara. Samsara is not just human or living thing on earth. Samsara includes so many living things that circle in be born and gone, be born and gone, you know. So I think jhana is, sometimes you sample one person that he even gone to almost the point of not return, which is anakami, you know, almost arahat. And then he turned himself down with the, I think, with his back to wrong will. And then he go back to more like a lay person. And then he get the result of his life is gone bad because he didn't create the good karma. Well, it can happen because, you know, anicca dukkha anatta happen. The thing is, you have to look at this way. When you got a result good, the important thing is you need to maintain it. Keep it be good at is when you get it. When you get good stuff, you protect it and you maintain it for another step. You know, that's how I see jhana. I feel like you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be, because scaring is one of the dukkha to create in your inner sensation of unsafe. Is another dukkha. If you practice until you got jhana, you should be careful and maintain the jhana you have and learn more about Buddha teaching, and you will step more until the top. You will get to the top by that. That's how I think. Thank you so much, Acha, for opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Nyada, for sharing. I want to address one thing. I'm not sure that I understood, but at the level of anagami, one does not regress. It's impossible. Those fetters, 5 fetters have been cut, including greed and hatred. So what's left is non-return and an existence that where the remaining 5 fetters will be eliminated. And also, preliminary right view is cause and effect. That sets us on the right way. When we understand that our actions have consequences, good actions have good results, unskillful actions have unskillful results, then we are more motivated with right intention of being harmless, of having goodwill, of renouncing those things that we really don't need for a wholesome life in the Noble Eightfold Path. So we're more motivated when we understand right view as cause and effect to practice right speech, right action, right livelihood, to put in right effort, which is where we spend most of our practice, will be right effort. For a really long time, we're more motivated to develop the 4 establishments of sati and to practice samadhi so that we have the noble right view, which is the correct understanding of the 4 noble truths. So even just having all of those preliminary, we can still regress. until we get to the noble understanding, the Four Noble Truths, we can regress. But once we get to that level, there is no regressing. Again, okay, so we're good. Well, this has been a treat for me visiting Dhammadharini and hosting 4 programs in 2 days. I've had a wonderful time. I hope I haven't bored anyone. Pretty soon I return to Florida on Wednesday and then to Cuba next month. No, then to New Jersey next month and back to Dhammadharini, then to Cuba. But thank you for accompanying me on this exciting journey, the most worthwhile expenditure of energy in the human realm. So let's dedicate our merit to all beings. And you know, when we dedicate our merit, we're not excluding ourselves. And actually, just the very thought, remember back to the sutta, just that thought of goodwill expands and multiplies and aids us in keep going, keep on keeping on. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahindika punyang tang anumoditwa chirang rakantu lokasasanam chirang rakantu desanam chirang rakantu mangparang. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
Ajahn, for
Sadhu,
teaching.
sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Ayya.
Thank you.
I also want to wish Ayya have a good health.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ayya.
And may Ayya's project go smoothly.
Go ahead. Everybody's sleeping.
So, the one, the speaker. Okay.
It's not